Salute to everyone who's watching today. Going back to Dominant. So it's been a while since I actually did this Love and Sex series. We actually came up with a new logo because of the fact that we need to promote the Back to Dominance ministry, which talks about fixing the male. You understand? So today we're going to talk about a very interesting topic that I think that we need to talk about. Is that let me just do this. There's a huge separation between sex and marriage. And this is quite interesting because how has it impacted people since there was a separation between sex and marriage? Because the reason why we came up with this topic is because of the fact that we can see that people are separating sex from marriage, and without knowing the intention that marriage is actually, or sex is actually, um, sex should be in marriage. So, um, how did, let's see what AI has to say. How did society separate sex and marriage? So let's just delve in and see what the AI said. Is that society's separation of sex and marriage has been gradually a gradual process influenced by cultural, religious, economic, economic and social changes. How in historically, marriage was closely tied to reproduction, for family alliances, and social stability, with sex largely confined to the institution of marriage. Over time, several factors contributed to the shift. So, firstly, the shift is that changing of social norms. As societies evolved, attitude towards sexuality became more flexible. The rise of individualism and personal freedom led to a sex of marriage outside of sex outside of marriage. So obviously the sexuality part, which is homosexuality and feminism, has really degenerated the meaning of what to have sex, what marriages and sex is in terms of them being synonymous. Secondly, economic independence. As women gain financial independence, that's what I've been saying all this time on my channel, that because women started becoming feminists, it became easier for them to think that they can just have sex outside of marriage and that is okay with them. And it was influenced, remember, if I have to do a Love and Sex series and I have to talk about feminism, you'll actually see that it was allowed by men so that feminism can actually come into fruition. Scientific and medical advances there depend. The development of contraception allowed people to separate sex from reproduction, reducing the pressure to marry for the sake of children. So you can see that in the past, people used to actually associate sex with children, but because of the fact that birth control existed, and it existed with the fact that it wanted to increase sexual degeneracy, and this is what is happening. We separate sex from marriage. Legal and cultural shifts, laws, um, laws on around marriage, divorce, and cohabitation change, making it easier for people to engage in relationships without formal marriage. You know now that cohabitation is a big thing, and it's something that people think that is nice to indulge in, where they can live with a partner, have sexual benefits, or let me put it this way, have marriage benefits without having to marry someone. And divorce, because divorce in the past was much difficult to actually implement. But because now it's easier for people to actually um, divorce, that is why you would see them not seeing the impact of having sex in marriage, where adultery is not seen as something that people see as a wrong thing. Media and popular culture, obviously, when you see movies of people having sex and celebrities having sex and pornography, we want to engage in those things because we look up to them. And sometimes we don't separate reality from non-reality. We just say that, okay, it looks nice and people are actually engaging in it and they feel good. Why not me also? So let's continue. So what is marriage? Because we need to understand it. According to the Bible, because the Bible is the one that's relevant. It's not a definition of two people. When I search on Google, it says that it is the legal binding relationship between two people. And that definition is based on the metric that people are trying to accommodate homosexuality these days, where a man can marry a man or a woman can marry a woman, and all those sorts of nonsense that we can see these days. But the creator of marriage, which is God, he says that it is a God ordained. The reason why people go to church when they are getting married is because it is ordained by God. It's not ordained by anyone. Even the gay people, when they want to get married, they go to church. God ordained covenant relationship between a man and a woman. And it's a covenant, remember. That is the reason why in the past, people were supposed to break their virginity in marriage, because one of the most significant covenants when it comes to two people is a blood covenant. And blood is exchanged between two people when they have sex. And that is why when a woman is a virgin, she bleeds when she breaks her virginity. So it signifies that these two people are becoming one. That is the reason why even in when you get born again and you are having you is a holy communion, you drink a wine that represents the blood of Christ, is because it's a covenant. So another one is a verse is that a man will leave his mother and father and cleave to his wife, and the two will become one. There's only one way for people for two to become one, is when there's a wife, and because one, it means that they are not saying only that they have children, because two of them, when they become one, is children, and when they have sex, it's becoming one. And even the hormonal changes that happen inside a woman's head and a man's head, there's a sync between them when they are actually doing sexual sex in the right environment and in the right way. So I want us to see some statistics on the rate of marriage and see if it has inclined or declined. So let's look at this way. Firstly, we're going to look at South Africa. Marriages on the decline in South Africa. Marriage has usually considered elite, and this is by the way, this is a source. This is Statistics SA, and Statistics SA is probably the biggest statistic monitor in South Africa. Say that considered a legally and socially approved union that is regulated by laws, rules, and customs beliefs. However, global local trends have seen marriages decreasing each year. So let's look at this way. Information contained in Statistics South Africa's latest release, marriages and divorces, state that in South Africa, 106,499 marriages took place in 2021. Look, a decline of almost 60,000 in only 9 years. That's a lot. Nearly a quarter of the civil marriages registered were in Gauteng, and the lowest was in Northern Cape. That is very, very poor. So let's look at more statistics, because I didn't look at only statistics in South Africa. Marriages are becoming less common. In many countries, marriages are declining. So let's look at in 1920, shortly after the First World War, there were 12 marriages annually for every 1,000 people. So in the US, so 120,000, no, 240,000, because it's 1,000 people, and okay, 120,000. between the two. Marriages in the US were around twice as common as today. In the 1930s, during the Great Depression, the rate fell sharply. In the 1930s, marriages became again more common, and then after the Second World War, marriage peaked at 60. Remember, the feminist movement and all of that did not occur at least after the Second World War. Marriages fell again in the 1950s and bounced back in the 1960s. The long decline started in the 1970s. That is when feminism started taking place and liberation started taking place. Since 1972, marriage rates in the US have fallen significantly and are currently the lowest in recorded history. Wow. So now let's look at this way. So the big question is that what is making it easier not to get married these days? Because there's a reason for all of this happening. So let's see. Uh, Easy access to sex, as I've told you right now, there's no restrictions of people thinking that no, I have to get married before I actually have to have sex. Secondly, the degeneration of the family structure, the fact that family is not the way that it is supposed to be, where the foundation is the father and is the house bond, which is the husband and the wife. People think that they can have a family, they can have benefits of a marriage outside of marriage. So that's why it's happening. The loss of the meaning of what sex is. Remember, in this series, I actually did a video on its own on what sex is. Please watch it after this one because it actually looks at the fundamentals of knowing what sex is, because people think that sex is only about the physical attraction. And sometimes people don't actually understand the emotional state and the mental state and even the spiritual aspect of what sex is. The redefinition of what sex is, as I've said before, when I said the Google definition, where two people can actually get married. Even now, people like two more people in polyamorous marriages and polyandry and whatever. They can get married, or even two men can get. They can say that it's a marriage, and I don't know how. So, fatherlessness. This is probably the most common one that people have started to not see the role of the father. And that is why I said that in the Back to Dominance, we address these things because those are the ones that this is the ministry that we see where we teach a young man what a father is, and even older men what they can teach their children on what a father is. So, what is the implication or the impact of the separation between the two? The rise of single motherhood. I don't even want to get into that one. You can see that right now, because of the fatherlessness, there's a lot of single mothers, and they're not even ashamed of that. Increasing divorce rates. I did a video on divorce rates last year just to specify to you what is the impact of these divorce rates and what is happening that makes people think that it is okay to divorce, where women would rather chase their happiness for their family and make it because of the fact that it is easier to get divorced these days. They just do it. So more mental health. One of the reasons why mental illness is very common these days is because people are having sex all over, and because of the fact that we have lost what the mental implications of having sex with a lot of people does. Because when you have sex with a lot of people, it's traumatic experiences, and those traumatic experiences is that it's either they affect you as a person or they affect your future children, and making it very easy for mental health issues to arise. So, what is the importance of marriage? Because we can talk about all the problems that are happening, but let's actually understand why it is important for you to actually get married. So, firstly, marriage does provide security for children. If if children had more parents who are actually married, not not that they have both parents only, but parents who are actually together in a marriage situation, it provides more security. Um, I can actually do another video just to tell you how marriage benefits society, but you have to comment below just to tell me if you want that in the marriage, in the Sex and Love and Sex series. So, secondly, it gives you the allowance to have sex because sex, people tend to not know that sex is a feeder. Like I said, more detail is explained in that video of what is sex. So, thirdly, it strengthens society because there's no degeneration of sex. Because when you guys are having sex with the next person, like I said, even I struggle with this, where I had to go to therapy for myself or with myself and with the gents that I had, and talking to them in the red pill space, where I told them that right now I'm in a monogamous relationship where I find it hard to actually embrace that monogamy because of the fact that I slept with so many women, and it has not really destroyed, but it has damaged my mental health, and I have to resist a lot of things so that I can be able to be monogamous. And that is what is happening right now a lot of time with a lot of people. And more information will be researched in the upcoming articles, where I'm going to talk about the difference between not the difference, what is the implications of marriage and the separation of marriage and sex. So I did this video because I need for you to know that in order for you to have sex, you need to get married. Or let me put it this way. If you are not ready for a child, you are not ready to have sex. And if you are ready, you say you are ready for a child, it means that you're ready to be someone's partner. And if you say you're ready to be someone's partner, it means that you're ready to be a wife or husband. And if you're not in all of that equation, if you are not ready to be someone's partner, it means that you're not ready to be to have a baby. And if you're not ready to have a baby, it means you're not ready to have sex. Then you shouldn't be doing it. So give this video a big thumbs up, subscribe and comment below. Check out in the description the article of ignored parenting and what it has done to society. So always remember, give this video a big thumbs up, subscribe and comment below, and tell me in the description if you like this sex, love and sex series. Always remember, Celeste X, so YouTube.